All right, well, welcome everybody to the April 30th Emergency Service Council meeting. We go ahead and proceed to roll call.
Town of Appleton. Yep. City of Belmont. City of Brisbane.
Flip lines here.
Thank you. City of Burlingame. And Town of Colma.
Carrie Slaughter.
City of Daly City. Greg Sylvester, present. Thank you. City of East Palo Alto.
President Martha Bergen.
Thank you. City of Foster City. Patrick Sullivan. Thank you. City of Half Moon Bay.
Debbie Ruther.
Patrick Johnson. Town of Hillsborough.
Marie Drum, present.
City of Menlo Park. City of Millbrae. City of Pacifica.
Christine Bowles.
Town of Portola Valley. City of Redwood City.
Aya Aiken.
City of San Bruno.
Rico Medina.
City of San Carlos. John Dugan here. City of San Mateo. City of South San Francisco.
Eddie Forrest, President.
Town of Woodside. And then County of San Mateo.
Here.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item 2, remembering Dina Gunn.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Supervisor, before we proceed, we have the city of Millbrae who is via Zoom due to a family matter attending. And so with that, I believe Board Member Rinaldi is on Zoom and will be participating under the appropriate route.
You'll know about those. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, for Brown compliance, one of the reasons for the absence and attendance via Zoom has to be child care or caregiving of a need of a child, sibling, parent, et cetera, a need related to a physical or mental condition that can't be accommodated, et cetera. So as long as the reason falls within one of those categories.
It does in the first portion.
Okay.
In the family. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So with that, as you may know that, or may not know, Dina Gunning would be a person that would show up to our meetings, sit in the audience, and participated in various ways. And so something prepared on behalf of supervisor and myself. Dina Gunning, Community Risk and Reliance Specialist for the Central County Fire Department, passed away unexpectedly this past Friday. Dina was known for her vibrant spirit, her love of the outdoors, and a deep appreciation for all things Disney. But more than anything, she believed in personal preparedness, not just as a professional responsibility, but as a way of life. Her mission was clear: to help ensure that every resident of San Mateo County had the knowledge and the tools to stay safe. A lifelong learner, Dina continuously invested in her craft. Even after more than 30 years of service, she recently earned the Cal OES Public Information Officer Specialist Certification and the Cal OES Emergency Management Outreach Instructor Certification, reflecting her commitment to growing and evolving in the service of others. Before joining Central County Fire, Dina served as the emergency planner coordinator for the City of Oakland Fire Department. She was passionate about connecting with the public and making preparation information accessible and actionable. She played a key role in planning the 2023 National CERT Conference in Burlingame, co-founder of the Bay Area Earthquake County Alliance, and served as president of the San Mateo County Emergency Association. She also, to our credit, was a San Bruno resident. She also served on our community preparedness. And I always remember and still hold dear that after we had our 210 explosion, she came and brought each of the council members an elevated Purple Heart. So to continue on the journey that we were about to embark on. We extend our deepest condolences to the Gunning family and to her colleagues across California. I would ask and invite everyone to join me in a moment of silence and honor Dina, her service, and her family. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Chair, I'll turn the floor back to you.
Thank you. So this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item 3, public comments, correspondence, and announcements.
Members of the public.
No public comment. All right. Anyone have any announcements? No? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to item 4, action to set the agenda and approve the January 29th, 2026 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any public comment? No? Okay, we've got to move the vote.
Tom Bapton,
Yes.
Belmont. Oh, sorry, Brisbane,
Yes.
Colma,
Yes.
Daly City. Yeah. East Palo Alto,
Yes.
Foster City. Yes. Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Millbrae. Thompson and, Pacifica,
Yes.
Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos. Yes. South San Francisco. Yes. Woodside.
Yes.
And County of San Mateo.
Yes, and I think Mr. Rinaldi might be in the waiting room, so if we could try to, whoever has.
City of San Mateo.
We could bring him in. You don't see him?
You probably also had to speak to the mic for him to do it.
He's not in the meeting.
Oh, he's not.
No, you just actually, he's says he's in Lisa Chan's Zoom waiting room.
All right, we'll resend him the link. So we can go ahead now and move on to item number 5, advancing one county, one voice toward a unified communication framework. I'll go ahead and turn it over.
Thank you, council members. Last time we shared with you the work we were doing with the public information officers at San Mateo County, and you all wanted to hear more. That more is one county, one voice. So December 2024 was a really close call for us, and you've heard me talk a lot about the tsunami warning that came out. Supervisor Mueller held town halls. We learned a lot from our public, both on the coast and in places like Hillsborough, who they were like, well, there's no threat here, but they got a warning that basically said they should do something. And so we were really looking at our alert and warning program. And what we realized is that there's 2 components of this. There's not just the alert and warning piece of this, but there's the public information piece of this. And so we at San Mateo County Emergency Management don't do public information. That is not our charge. We do alert and warning. If there's an emergency, we warn people. But that doesn't mean that we can't help bring people together and coordinate. So there's basically we just started talking about this. We had people come, PIOs come to our alert and warning group. We had subject matter experts come from all over the world to talk about how they do alert and warning. But public information kept on coming to the top. And so what we created was called a Public Information Council. And what that council does in blue skies is identify trusted spokespersons, builds templates, holding statements. The council established relationships. So they're establishing relationships with all the fire PIOs, all the city PIOs, all the law enforcement PIOs, all the special district PIOs. They're building that relationship and training and exercising. During gray skies, right before an emergency or when there's a emergency that's about to happen, they get activated. They deploy holding statements. That's one of our learning lessons from the Edgewood fire. People were like, oh, well, we don't know what's going on. But if we had put out something saying there is a fire, everything's okay, it's under 10 acres, This is, even though it's jumped to a, because we have high humidity, this is not something that is of significant concern. People would have not panicked. So we've created holding statements. We've created, situational awareness flows. And then establishing, getting spokespeople out there. So, for a law enforcement thing, it's a law enforcement person. For a fire thing, it's a fire person. Maybe, for something like a water main break, it's a DPW person. And so the idea is, so we brought all the PIOs together and they really want to continue doing this work. So it's the same framework that we use for alert and warning, the 5-element framework. It's who, what's going on, what is the time. So they're seeing the same thing through the press conferences, through their tweets, and then during dark skies, when there is an emergency, we're running a unified joint information center, which is actually the room right there, or they're activating a virtual JIC. And every message that goes out has the same type of information, so they see it in the same way, which then reduces hesitancy to act. And the city PIOs will then amplify this message locally and document and receive information and then give that back to us in the Joint Information Center. So we're working with all the PIOs to coordinate that. And the first few folks that are in that PIO council is really the CEOs, county CEOs, PIO, Sheriff's PIO here, CAL FIRE PIO, and us as the initiating body to help move that along. But we've had joint learnings with all the department PIOs and all the city, we've invited a lot of the city fire and police, law enforcement PIOs. The next step we're actually gonna do is work on this amplification of the message. So the next forum we're gonna have is look at the messaging. We've created messaging. We're gonna try to amplify it and we're gonna practice it. We have 2 different exercises coming up. Our first exercise is on May 12th this year. And our next exercise will be October 15th this year. And we'll be practicing the JIG and practicing this one county, one voice. Questions?
John.
Thank you for the report. I just want to compliment you and your team on the response. That tsunami warning wasn't our finest moment, but what a fantastic reaction, right? Went out from the best experts, the best practices, and now year and a half in, you're still methodically pursuing those best practices. So it's just a good example of government doing what it's supposed to do. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, and I have to say, I'm all about connectivities and getting to know the stakeholders so that you can have a cohesive messaging going out to the public. My question is, at what point do you trigger that as a regional disasters? And how do you separate that from the small incidents, say, in Hillsborough?
Yeah. That's a great question. That is one of the questions that came up in the PIO gathering that we had last month. And we're trying to build a platform for everyone to communicate in the same level. So one of the ways, for example, Burlingame used us is that during their one of the incidences they had, they actually needed PIO support. And so they asked us, the county, to step in and help them with that. And so we're still building the framework. It's not perfect. And I think we will continue to, but everyone's building the framework together. And I think that's the key thing, is that we're on the same page about movement forward. So I don't think we've really figured that piece out yet.
To be continued.
To be continued, yes.
So I have a question. In past events that I've seen happen around fire or in different cities, there has been different hierarchy in terms of who approves the message. And we've had different messages coming out from different organizations. And so my question is in this one voice framework we're building, is there, and I hate to use the expression, is there one throat to choke? Because that's what they use in industry. Is there one person who is responsible for all of the messaging, or will it still be a multi-agency framework that we're hoping everybody is giving out the same message at the same time?
I think that's a really good question. The consensus that we really came up with is figuring out who those spokespeople are for those incidences, for specific incidents. So let's say, assume there's a fire in Burlingame, right? So the person that would be in charge would be Central County Fire and their PIO. And so they are that one county, one voice. Whatever they're putting out, we're all collectively putting out. So we're not, the idea is that they're part of the fabric, and they are still in charge, because every one of your cities is your disaster is local, right? So you are responsible for your disaster. The county only gets involved if you ask for mutual aid or assistance or any resources, like a specific resource.
So follow-up, how does that work across jurisdictional lines? So a great example is Woodside Fire, moving toward Redwood City. It's county, and it going through a county unincorporated area, and county has responsibility for emergency for evacuation. Woodside Fire has responsibility, obviously, for notifying its residents. It's going through a county area and it's heading into Redwood City. How does one voice work?
That's the platform we're creating. So it's a technology-based solution. So we're putting in, whoever's in charge is putting in the information, the holding statements, and we're all supposed to basically take that and amplify that message.
So, but if it's going through multiple jurisdictions, does that mean where the fire started, they control the message? Or, because I'm assuming if the fire starts in Redwood City is going to want to, I mean, if the fire starts at Woodside's going to just say, okay, we're controlling how we're going to go ahead and message this. But as it moves across and goes into different agencies, is Woodside still the entity that would have the sign off and it's their message? Or at what point do you say, no, it's changed, now this entity has the sign off? And is that in the platform?
Yeah, so that they would, once it moves up, so we saw this in Edgewood Fire. We had Cal Fire being responsible and then Woodside Fire then taking over. So part of this is all of us working together and saying, okay, now it's like attack, it's moving, fire is moving. And so now who's responsible for, or maybe there's a co-responsibility rather than just, so this is what this forum is figuring out. This is what this council is doing together.
Okay.
So there's no confusion.
Yeah, so it sounds like tabletops are pretty important in figuring this out, so.
Yeah, so to amplify that, Cal Water's got a reservoir up on the west end of our town. If the dam breaks, it'll flood the lower part of Atherton going into Woodside. And, so now you've got 3 different jurisdictions. It's not really clear which jurisdiction is going to be responsible for it. The one that will know about it first is going to be Atherton. It's not going to be Cal Water. And it's not going to be Woodside, and then it goes down and then it will wipe out, the elementary school that's on Alameda to Los Pocos, and then continue on. And if it gets into the channel, all the way out to the bay. Okay, so then we will impact Redwood City in that trailer park. So, to raise comment, somebody has to be responsible for it, and crafting the total message. And then also notify the other people. On top of all that, you've got SMC alerts and things like that going out because it's gonna impact streets and things like that. So now you've got a fourth and a fifth jurisdiction in there, and all that seems to be extremely messy, okay? And so I know that you say you're working on it. I guess the question is, when will it be done?
So I'll address this one because dams are a little bit differently. So after the oil well spillway incident, the State Division of Dam Safety got involved and they require all dams that have high consequence in California to have an emergency action plan. And it is meant to deal with situations just like this. And what that plan addresses is they need to have a communication. It is ultimately the responsibility of Cal Water to initiate that. It's their dam. They have the understanding of where it sits, when it may be potentially in a hazardous situation or potentially coming towards failure. And they actually have a ring down list, how that will be done. That will work through the county. They have a notification list. And to Supervisor Mueller's point, there are tabletops that occur with this. I have previously attended those, and they do involve all of those jurisdictions. So dams really do have a nailed down plan that's in place, and it has to be reviewed once a year, and we're involved in that review process.
Well, we have our own EOC and it covers the dams as well.
Yeah, so all of those parties are brought together in one group to address that emergency action plan for each of those individual dams.
Well, it's news to us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate Supervisor Ray's comment and your comment. I think your initial message was saying it to be focused in the area that it is. But the way rumors go by quick, it would seem pivotal that all surrounding cities or agencies somehow should be contacted with the same message. Because I think that would be a failure of the whole system not to.
Yeah, so, you know, about a year ago, none of this existed. You know, so I think what we need to recognize today is that we are bringing everyone together, having these discussions and moving everything each one of you are saying, moving these different agencies into a same standardized holding templates, standards, and a platform so they can communicate and relationship building, right? So if there's no relationship between, and this is not this, I'm just making this up, between Atherton PIO and Woodside PIO, now we're building that relationship. And so they're able to make those phone calls, they're able to move things along.
The point I'm trying to bring,
Yeah.
not that is not important.
Yeah,
The point is to get the message out to everybody
yes,
from the central location. So the chain of command all has an understanding instead of hearing it on rumors.
I agree with that. And I think that's the point of a centralized system. It's called joint information system, or, you know, a center, joint information.
But the example that you used to begin with, you correct me, when you presented it, it sounded like if the catastrophe was in that central location, that certain central location was going to handle it and make their decisions.
All disasters are local, so we would never take over, you know, Foster City's disaster, or fire disaster. They would have to appoint someone to be able to do that. And, maybe one of our fire folks can talk about that.
May I through the chair? Can I? First of all, I think that we need to reassure that each city has their own emergency programs, and your city manager, in case of a disaster, if it's declared, your city manager is the person who's in charge, is the top person, and then the working with the elected to claim the disasters or whatnot. What I'm trying to understand from you is that your one voice is really to the public to address the idea that public messages will be the same. But the reality is, in the disasters, I think there's flexibility in fire and police and also in the city, that boots on the grounds are the one who is going to be sending out those messages because they have the real-time info that they can send out. They have the SMC alert, they have the templates that they will be able to get those messages out for people to stay alert and stay out of that area if that is the case. And then all these other development, you are working on it, so that it's much more easy for us to communicate and there is no mismanaging in terms of the information. Is that correct?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure that that is the message.
So I appreciate this work's being done. It's really important. And I wasn't trying to diminish it. The only thing I'm trying to point to is that where there's the intersection between jurisdictions, because we have other organic forms of communication like next door and people texting each other. I really appreciate that there could be some place that someone can say, in this area, this is the message. This is the message for this area. This is the message for this area. And then each of those jurisdictions has the responsibility and is held accountable for each portion and segment of that. Because that's the difficulty that I've seen in the crisis, in the, not crises, but the natural hazard events we've had, is that the organic messaging gets away from what's coming from the agencies, and people are saying, well, why am I being told this and they're being told that? And that becomes a bit of a mess. So I do like one clearinghouse. I will also say, in the follow-up of those events, it was kind of difficult to figure out who was responsible for the messaging in each area. So
My ask from all of you is I will be presenting this to the city managers, coming up in June. We have a lot of, enthusiasm with the city PIOs and fire and law PIOs and even some special district PIOs like Samtrans. So, you know, we really want to foster the growth of this. And I need your help to support the growth of this program. So we are one county, one voice.
Well, like we had the ransom attack recently and our city manager had to contact the state right away.
They also contacted us. Yes.
I would like to just give an example during the tsunami, December 24. I live on west of Highway 1, really close to the beach. After I first heard about the potential tsunami, I was standing out in front of my house. And within 15 minutes, a Harbor District truck came by, said to evacuate. A state parks vehicle came by and said to evacuate. And then the city. So there were 3 different jurisdictions. And I heard afterward that they were, the Harbor District and state parks had different information about the likelihood of the event and where to go. And it was super confusing. So I think that as it relates to tsunami, I think the Harbor District and probably state parks need to be brought into the mix. Because in just a 4 or 5 mile stretch on the coast, you have many different jurisdictions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
thanks. All right, any public comment on this item?
No public comment on it.
All right, any other questions for this item? All right, moving on to item number 6, tsunami preparedness.
So building off of what we talked about for One County, One Voice, we wanted to take an opportunity to update the group on some of the work we've done around tsunamis since that December 2024 event. And so this work started essentially immediately after that, building tools, coming up with different messaging design, and being able to be in communication for that. And so what we have done this year, Tsunami Preparedness Week, is towards the end of March. And so early in March, we met with the law enforcement, law chiefs, fire chiefs, EMS agencies. We've met with the city emergency managers to try and come to a unified understanding of what the tsunami hazard threat in our county is. And so we're just going to quickly go over some of that information that we've shared so that we can do it. So this is the alert that we all got. It went to about 5 million people, covered about half the coast of Oregon and as far south as Santa Cruz. It was a lot of people. It was a non-succinct message. It told everyone they were in danger, and it caused a lot of confusion and a lot of panic. And so we had some challenges around the way we'd be able to let people know if they were in danger or if they weren't in danger, what actions they may be able to take. And so one of the things we did is start to develop some tools that I'll get to in just a minute. And we were able to leverage those tools in July of 2025 when we had another tsunami. And so I'll just briefly go over the tsunami threat levels. And so warning is the highest. And that's when there could potentially be a tsunami, a impact of tsunami in town. And that's what we experienced in December of 24. And then in July of last year, we had a large earthquake in Russia that could have sparked a tsunami and did in fact spark a tsunami. And it started out as a watch, which essentially means keeping people out of the water and off the beach. We then transitioned into an advisory, which has the same levels. And so we got to exercise some of these tools that I'll talk about. But one of the things I want to get to first is when we take a look at our county here, everything in green is outside of the tsunami hazard zone. And everything in red is within the hazard zone. In your packets, you'll see that we've created jurisdictional maps for all of your jurisdictions. It shows where the tsunami hazard zone is for your jurisdiction. And we've also broken down the number of buildings that are there. And we've shared all of those information with law, fire, EMS, and others to help them understand. Some of you are not going to have any tsunami hazard zone. And the reason we're sharing this is that you're all going to get that warning. Every one of your residents are. And so we wanted to be able to have a mechanism to share where the hazard zone is and is not. And so we created a tsunami dashboard that we can share, which we did in July, that got 80,000 views. And so we can send a link. People can pull up that link on their phone. They can see their location. They can determine if they're in the hazard zone or not. And then if they are in the hazard zone, it tells them that you need to get out of the hazard zone. One of the things that we experienced is that people wanted to travel long distances. They wanted to drive from the coast over. Most people only needed to go a few blocks to be out of that area. So we wanted to be able to have our own language, to be able to send immediately after the tsunami, to be able to give any updated information about when it may arrive. And lastly, to create some sort of tool that visually displays where the hazard zone is and is not. And something that is better than low-lying areas or move to higher ground. And we saw that be effective in July of 2025. And so we've also created tools for all of our jurisdictions, and we've shared during the month of March and April to be able to understand what we're going to do, what we think you should do. And then we were able to talk in those meetings and come up with some really useful ideas and be able to modify things from there. And so really we want to highlight this because we've worked with all of the emergency responders in your jurisdiction, making sure that we're covering this across broad strokes and just informing you that we realized we could have done better and we're doing a lot to try and do so. So I can take any questions you guys have.
Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for the detailed presentation. One of the questions that I have is regarding, we have people, like I love to go to visit in Pacifica and Half Bay. So you're using SMC alert as a mechanism?
So it wouldn't actually go through SMC alert. We would use the wireless emergency alert. So you were selecting by
It would be
location.
hidden because of the cell towers
Yeah.
and my phone.
Yeah.
And so it would, and there will be actions that ask of me to move to the higher ground. Is that right?
So what we would do is, one of the things that doesn't come out in the generic language is any information about when it may arrive. And that estimated arrival comes pretty quick. And I think that's important because it could be as short as an hour or it could be as long as 7, 8 hours, right? And so trying to set some expectation prior to, and then we would have a link to the map viewer that people would be able to pull up and you can check by your geographic location. You could basically click on the polygon, am I in the hazard zone or not? And then if you are, it gives some instructions about essentially working out of the hazard zone. And I think right now that's the best that we can do to try and provide a platform that we can quickly and easily share to all parties to be able to provide some information about how to do that.
Thank you.
So, on the bay side, what are you anticipating the tsunami height?
So we are not approaching this from a tsunami height or potential impact. This is about addressing the communication hazard that goes along with the tsunami. And so that to those jurisdictions, most of them on the bay side have a very small hazard zone. Most of those are uninhabited.
Right.
And so being able to communicate and to people, if you are in this zone, you need to leave that zone. There is a tsunami. We're not experts. We're not going to have any information in real time about what the potential higher impacts may be. It is here is your advice, here's what you need to do, the actions that we need from you are to remove yourself from the hazard zone.
I appreciate that, and as looking through all these different communities that are on, right up on the bay. Have a park there, et cetera, but they also have some streets with some houses on there. The places with people are in green, so I was just wondering, was there some sort of geographic or geologic height restriction there that perhaps they had that I don't know about? Because I would have thought that some of those areas would have been identified. And looking at, I'm not from East Palo Alto, obviously, but a good part of that community is below sea level. And so, it's low, and so any tsunami is gonna wash in.
So for our part of this is we're really about emergency preparedness and emergency response to these potential incidents. That individual ordinances that maybe that would be with any one building department or planning department within that jurisdiction. I'm not sure that it's appropriate for me to speak to that, but what I can say is that these tsunami hazard zones are set up to be a worst case scenario. The highest high tide, it's raining out, the largest impact that you can have. And so the action that you need to take in that moment to protect yourself is to remove yourself from that tsunami hazard zone.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
So an example of that, you mentioned East Palo Alto. East Palo Alto has 2 buildings in the tsunami hazard zone. And so they would really need to just go up one story up or get out of that hazard zone. And those would be, East Palo Alto otherwise has 559 buildings not in the tsunami zone. So the idea of this is so everyone has the same information. So when there is another one of these warnings, that we can say the same thing. So East Palo Alto is able to say, okay, if you're in this area, you need to go inland, or go up 1 story.
Okay, I just would. I thought it would be identified based on some analysis that, this. Number of feet above sea level is the safest area.
So that's what the hazard zone is doing. It's identifying the maximum potential impact for a tsunami.
Okay.
So I think these maps are wonderful to have. Is there like any evacuation planning going on? Is like the next piece, for instance, during the tsunami event of December. It seems like maybe only Miramar neighborhood in Half Moon Bay needed to actually, go to higher ground. Is there some planning around, like, in the case of a tsunami, this is how it's gonna work. The low-lying areas are gonna hit the road first, and then lesser low-lying areas follow. Because otherwise, everybody's hitting the road at the same time. There was terrible congestion. There were actually stoplights that were out. People were accumulating like at the Johnson House up in Half Moon Bay, some of them going up Higgins Charisma Road. Nobody knew where to go or what to do. And on the coast with only 1 road, 2 roads in and out, I think we actually need an evacuation plan. Here's how it's gonna work.
Nope. So, yeah, speaking to that real quick, I actually want to commend Shruti and Ryan and the team's work on this. One of the things that we did a lot of town halls on the coast. One of the things we tried to put in was new signs so that people know, because if you look, Highway 1 on this map is not great. And so the idea was, but if you look at the map, everyone has the opportunity to go up. And so the idea was to go ahead and mark in the neighborhoods how far you have to go up, so you don't actually have to leave. The other thing I'd just point out to everyone real quick is that tsunamis impacts are different based on where the tsunami happens. And so if the tsunami happens, like the Cascadia fault goes off, the wave is actually going down. So it's not going to hit with the same level of, it's not like every time there's a tsunami, the full yellow area fills. So it really is, we do get some amount of warning to tell people, but I remember very clearly waiting for those buoys to go off. So, but that was why we put, that's why, and there should be, and I don't know if all the signage done?
It's in progress now.
It's implemented now?
I don't know that it's all been installed, but we have started installing.
So all the signage on the coast should be updated to tell people how far east they have to go and up to get out of that zone. But yeah, we do have to work on. the
Traffic
evacuation.
management.
Yeah,
Like
traffic
you want.
management is gonna be a bear.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you Supervisor Nor. Part of my question was in regards to the bay, when you think of tsunamis, you're usually thinking of the coastline with the ocean. And so, and I know this is about alerting people, not so much like how it impacts, right? It's really about alerting people. But part of, getting the message out and having people pay attention is also understanding what are the risks. And so, I'm just kind of curious what kind of information you put out there to folks who are on the bay shore, because a lot of them might feel that that's not going to impact that.
Yeah, I would say that the impacts on the bay shore are certainly less than you would expect on the coast side. The thing I would say to that though is that it's difficult to Supervisor Mueller's point. Where is the fault? How big is the fault? What is the fault direction? And so we would be working in real time to understand that. I'm not in a place right now to say, oh, you should expect this or you should expect that. For the most part, we know there's gonna be less, but there are so many variables that are involved in this that I don't think it's appropriate for me to speak to that.
Through the chair.
I think Patrick was next and then.
I just had a quick, because I remember being on planning commission 20 years ago and we had to put the tsunami signs in our neighborhood. And I was kind of pissed off with the signs now in front of my house, like 5 houses, and I'm like, now I'm in the zone. I'm thinking about my insurance and all this stuff. But I was under the impression that they're all down the coastline and they're all about the same place. So there's one by the Lutheran church, and as you go down, they're all in this certain location. And I was told, or as I received it, that's where the zone is, and if you pass the sign, then you're safe. So I'm hearing now the new signs are gonna actually kind of allude to, like, you need, from this point, you need to go up or you need to go over or something.
We're not moving the signs, we're replacing the signs. A lot of the signs were worn out or getting older, and we're adding additional signs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they gonna have additional messages on them?
No, the signs are exactly the same. The signs come from the state so that you have a unified, here is the tsunami zone through all areas of the coast, right? Because we wouldn't want to go to San Mateo has one sign and Santa Cruz has another, right? So there is one tsunami sign that is used in the state of California.
So does that mean where the sign is now, right down my street, is that where that's from that point up, you're safe? Or is that just a sign they just put there?
Those signs are put at the edge of the tsunami hazard.
Okay, so that is the edge, so that's where it is. But if you look at the map here, doesn't correspond with that.
So there has been some updates to the map, and we could examine that.
Because it's way further up, because where my house is, we're talking a big chunk of it. It's not, it doesn't match what's on the ground.
Okay, we can look into that.
Will you have signs that say you're now at 500 feet and you're okay?
No.
Are you doing signs in Pacifica too? I haven't heard.
I'll check on that.
And then I just want to ask, so, when the alert came out, that wasn't from the county. that
No,
was
they were from the National Weather
the
Service
national,
through
right.
the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska.
So are they still doing their thing and we're doing something else?
They could do a very large geographic area, and there are limits about what language they can put out. We're trying to have language that is more set to our geographic area and be able to put that out and follow that up and be more in line with the guidance of what we would have in our county.
So are you saying, so they would send their alert, which would be a broader area and a broader time, but you would follow up? with-
Yeah, so when you send a wireless emergency alert, it gets sent out, it gets sent to the entire county. We as the county can then send a follow-up alert, and it actually would replace that. And any new person receiving the alert would only receive the second alert.
Because I'm assuming there might be a big time delay, like from when they sent theirs to when you're checking the buoys and, okay, this really is a threat or is not a threat to us.
So they have a really short time period to put that out. And then It would not be, we would not wait for the buoys, which would be like 90 minutes to 120 minutes. We would try to be, as soon as we could provide an estimate of arrival, and then our alert, because our alert's gonna have a link to our map viewer that people can then use to try and determine their geographic location.
Excited to see it. Well, not excited, but it'll be interesting to see it play out. Thank you.
Great, Anne Marie.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. So this item, really, what you're saying is that there are two parts to this. One is the front facing to the public as to the notifications and how people should adhere to the warning and then take action to get to the higher grounds. And I think Supervisor have talked about the signage that is going to be clearly labeled and so that people know how to get there, right? And the other part of it is that for all the tsunami training, that would be the city's job, isn't it? That they would be coordinating with you and then so that it's consistent out there to have some kind of training. So we as a residents understand what that meant when we heard the sirens or the high lows or the text messages that we need to get to the higher ground to be safe.
Yeah, and really what we're striving to do is make sure that emergency management, all our law agencies, our fire agencies, our EMS, that we can have same understanding of where the hazard zone is and is not, and be able to communicate that.
Thank you.
But absolutely, so in the experience that we had on the coast side, the coast has very strong CERT teams. And they activated and were able to calm people down in a lot of circumstances in that event, even despite the mixed messaging. So it's really, I can't, to all the cities to actually do the training, put people through the drills. It's really important. It was crazy. So, but really great. I just want to take a moment and say this was really great work. Very, very grateful for it. That works.
I was just curious, do you have a number of buildings in the tsunami zone in the county versus out?
We do. I don't know that I know it off the top of my
That'd
head.
be great then.
Yeah,
And then it would also be interesting, and maybe you already have this, but for each jurisdiction to have a list of their buildings. So like San Mateo only has 21, which is great, but I bet you most of them are not even residential. But it would be helpful to have that data because we could actually message as a city to the 20 buildings. And, you know, if that have more impact on a city like Pacific or Half Moon Bay. But
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item?
Nope.
All right. Then we're gonna go ahead. If there's no more questions or comments, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 7, San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department Hazmat Program presentation.
Good evening. I'm here to talk to you guys about hazmat. One of the subject you always looked up in high school, right? A little bit of myself. My name is Jeff Thorne. I'm a battalion chief with the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department. I've been assigned to the county hazmat team since 2002, and I've been the team manager since 2016. So my goal is to kind of give you an explanation of what the hazmat team actually does and why we actually have one. Started back in 1984. We're one of the first hazmat teams in the state of California recognized by OES. What prompted it, in 1973, we had a really significant event that happened in the town of Belmont. Involved a chemical called methylbromide. You all know what that is? That's a very, very toxic pesticide. It's now banned worldwide. You can see how bad it was. It affected the entire Belmont Fire Department. 18 went home that day, 12 never came back to work because of this chemical. At the time in the 70s, we knew nothing about hazmat. Something the military did, didn't know anything about it, just kind of did the thing, right? Remember growing up, changing oil with my dad in the cars and dumping it on the side of the house. Because that's what we did. I decided to go back and dig a well now, make some money, but humorous. So, but again, so we didn't know about it. We had this that issue in Belmont. It's one of the worst issues involving hazardous materials in the United States history. Most people don't know about it because something we didn't do. Because hazmat is it's not flashy. You see a fire, you see smoke, very visual, right? Most hazardous chemicals are doing nothing. It's no different than a piece of substance on the ground, powder, or liquid gas. We don't propose it as being a hazard. And a lot of times you don't show effects in these until days, weeks, months, or even decades later. That's what happened to these gentlemen in Belmont in the early 70s. Currently, right now, the department's operated by the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department. We're out at Fire Station 14, which is in Belmont, which is about 3/4 of a mile from where this incident happened. We have 35 members on our team. We are a cross-staff team, means during the day, firefighters running the fire engine, running medical calls, fires. If a hazmat call comes in, we then now staff that unit to go respond to the jurisdictions, which is all over San Mateo County. All of San Mateo County we respond to, including Slack down by Stanford. And we also provide assistance to SFO as well too. San Francisco is the primary response team that's up there, but we do provide assistance when they do ask for it. And we are also a state recognized type 1 hazmat team, which I'll go in a little more detail in a few minutes. We're a part of the hazmat, the environmental health section of San Mateo County. When they go out and inspections, they do inspections, they check for hazardous materials, doing the business plans, we work with them, but we are the emergency response section. So when things go sideways, we're the team that goes out and deals with it. Its jurisdiction is required to have some sort of response plan on file. We are your response plan for this county. For every city in the county and unincorporated and the county itself, we are your response plan. So if something happens, we come out and we deal with it. If we weren't there, we'd have to contract with a private company or a private provider, and they don't do that in the kindness of their heart. They will charge you, and it was extraordinarily expensive, and they do not do emergency response. What do we actually do? Basically, is we ensure the safety of our citizens and we protect the environment and property. Very generic term, right? So we do that by identifying materials and chemicals. We isolate it so the problem doesn't get worse. Because hazardous materials can expand very, very rapidly. The example, we had an incident in Redwood Shores, some employees got exposed to a chemical, a lot of those employees went home. They lived in Alameda County and Santa Clara County. Our problem went from one building in Redwood Shores to now span 3 counties. Because I think very similar to most people would do. So we keep the problem as small as we can. Goes in the storm drain, all our storm drains go into the ocean, right? So now we prevent the problem from getting bigger, we'll isolate it and make it a lot smaller. We'll do decontamination of equipment, people, personnel, and buildings in the environment, help kind of clean it up. We'll identify what the material is, and I can go up at the end, incident stabilization, we can hand it back over to the cities or the property owner to get their day back in order. We go to anything. Everything, the lithium ion batteries are the new thing we're dealing with right now, all the way to weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear events. So we do everything. We're a type 1 team. This is the highest level you can become in the hazmat world. We took us about 7 years to get there, but we just got certified by the state earlier in this month. Took us a long time to get there, but we get there and we can go to any type of event. Doesn't matter. We're up in the same levels as City of San Jose, Alameda County, Oakland Fire, Los Angeles City, Los Angeles County. We're up with the big boys now. And because of being a small part-time team, that's quite an accomplishment for us to get there. So if something happens, we can take care of it. This is kind of our average of the last 5 years. These numbers are a little bit skewed because the last 2 years, I'll go over in the next slide, why it's a little higher. But we average about 100 to 200 requests for services a year. But that does not include, you have a smell of gas in your house, like smell of natural gas or propane. That's a hazardous materials, but we do not go on them. Vehicle leaking fuel. Also, that's all handled by the local fire department. We can go assist, but we don't typically go initially. Calls are going up a lot. Just last year, we had a 60% increase in our call volume. That's our highest level since just post 9/11, when we did all the white powder incidents. We're on a pace this year to double our call volume from 2024. That's all coming mostly from the lithium ion batteries. Just have to go too far, a couple days ago up in Daly City, we had that, vehicle fire up on the freeway, right? Electric vehicle overturned, which shall remain nameless of the manufacturer, caught fire. Yeah. But when electric vehicles or electric batteries catch fire, they produce extraordinarily toxic smells. Extraordinarily. That white stuff coming out, that's methane gas. Highly flammable. Hydrogen cyanide gas, hydrogen fluoride gas, heavy metals, all bad stuff that do really bad things to you guys. And our concern is not so much with the vehicles themselves, it's all these mobilities out there, these scooters, these bikes. When you buy it's something from the store, you get the charging port or the charging box that come with the manufacturer is great. Until that breaks, you're like, I'm going to Amazon, this one's $30 cheaper. Which people buy, they buy the cheaper ones, which that would causes our issues, causes overcharging the batteries and batteries start to fail. Or they fail because of a traumatic event. And that's where our biggest issues are happening right now. That's why our biggest call on coming up is just lithium-ion batteries. Just an example of some calls here over the last few years. Current showing, there's no city that's immune. In the entire county, this happened. From Menlo Park to Daly City, from Coastside to Bayside. Everyone has it. This is an example, some pictures of what we do. Upper left-hand corner was a radiological event we had in San Carlos. We had a nice guy that had a hobby of like collecting radioactive material when he worked at Slack. We all got hobbies, right? Yeah, so he had his hobby, passed away, house went into probate, they went to LaSalle, and we had all these radioactive materials inside this house. Can't just leave them there. No, it's not the 80s, I can't toss them in the garbage can. So we had to take care of, and they take time. This event lasted about 2.5 days. Because once we discover something, we have to take care of it from the moment we find it, or it's discovered, until it's completely disposed of properly. Upper right hand corner, that's in Millbrae, at the Millbrae train station. Actually, was a training exercise we did with the 95th National Guard. Which you do a lot of training with the military on the National Guard, because the 95th is a military's hazmat team. So we do a lot of joint training with them to make sure you can train up with them. Lower left, Woodside, got a pool cleaning truck go down a hillside, which that involves extrication tools to draw through life. Also involved rope systems to pull the stuff out, plus we had to go all the chemicals out. So to kind of show how complex it can get. In the lower right is just an example of how we do like mass decontamination. If you have a lot of people that are exposed, we can put you in that really cold water really quick and get the majority of the stuff off of you. That's training we do with the fire department. We work with our partners from Woodside, because sometimes we can't get to it. So we have to use our off-road vehicles to go down where these chemicals are located. Doesn't matter where it is, if we find it, we gotta take care of it. The one upper right-hand corner was what I told you about at Redwood Shores. That spanned 3 counties. And there's a couple more pictures of a couple more incidents in Belmont. DHP loves it when we shut down the freeway. Yeah, that was 92. We shut down 92 for about 5 hours. I've been Daly City the other day. People that commute through there, even 20 minutes makes a big difference. But again, if we don't, it's gonna make the problem that much worse. That's why we want to isolate it and keep it and contain as much as we can. It might be an inconvenience, but it'll be a lot bigger problem if we don't. Training up at SFO, again, one of the response teams to the airport. And lower left, that would be your in the city of San Mateo, that was a mercury spill. Again, training on the airport, training on the aircraft. We do our own chemical identification. Means just because we not know what it is, we have to find out what it is. So we actually do, we have all this fancy, monitors and technology to kind of tell us, but it goes back to plain chemistry. That's our definitive answer to identify what the project is, or at least what family it is, so we can figure out how to get rid of it. How do we compare to our neighbors? You can see population, our county's by 860, give or take, go up to a million plus during the day. We got 1 team. Santa Clara County, 8 teams. Alameda County, 5. Contra Costa's got 3. San Francisco's only got 1, but they have over 600 members compared to our 35. To kind of show where we compare with our neighbors. But what are we facing? Life sciences is the new one coming in. See it moving in just about everywhere. We also, the biggest thing is we have come up with lithium-ion batteries, and we talked about earlier. Increased acts of violence. Doesn't take much to turn on the television and see what's going on in the world around us, and the geopolitical concerns. So we have concerns around here locally as well. More exotic compounds, less of the legacy stuff, less of like the motor fuels, and less things that we see for like auto repair and manufacturing like this county used to be. We're now going to things that are more exotic, your heavy metals, your lithium ion, all these things that are kind of a little more exotic, but they're a lot more toxic in smaller quantities. Because they're in smaller quantities, there's less regulation when you ship them. When you ship things, hazmat very expensive. So it costs a lot to ship them. So a lot of the regulations are designed to exclude certain products and make less quantities. Like example is if you ship something that's 1,000 pounds, you might need to have those hazmat stickers and placards all over it. I ship 110-pound packages. Guess what? I don't need any of that, depending on what it is. So less little regulations, and so a lot more. That's not saying they're skirting the law; they're just using the law to their advantage. Had a lot of large scale events the last couple months. You know, that one football game we all saw, you know, we had Super Bowl, FIFA, LPGA. Fair is a big area, not just for sporting events, but also political events, sales sports events up in the city, all those things that bring a lot of people into the area. When people come into an area, accidents do happen. Mutual aid concerns. We're a very unique resource. I mean, there's only one of us in our county. If we have an event here and you think Santa Clara County will give up their unique resource to come help us, they may, if they have nothing else going on, but they might hold on to that resource in case the event happens there as well too, especially if it's like a terrorist type event. If we have an event that occurs that natural and reasoning causes, then they probably will come up and help us. But if it's a terrorist event, they have to worry about protecting their own citizens as well. Or if we have, like we saw down in Palisades last year, all those fires went through, what's in all those houses? Batteries, electric vehicles, you name it, people's garages, all that's gotta be cleaned up. They're starting to realize all these wildland fires coming through, the fires are burning down these structures, thousands every year, all the stuff left behind is toxic that we still have to clean up. We still have to deal with. Lahaina was another great example that had that too. You have all these batteries, and how do you get rid of them? And that's where we come into play. Our team actually was requested to go down to Palisades, but we could not do it because we maintain our contractual agreement here. So we stayed back here. So it will be happening more and more with our mutual aid. And then it's out there, more and more training required to be put out. These monitors that we are carrying are so complex. And so, I mean, they can do everything you can think of, but it takes a lot of training to maintain that. And we're trying to maintain all our firefighters and maintain the ability to be proficient at fighting fires and being paramedics, but also make sure they maintain competency in how to be a hazmat specialist as well too. Any questions? Answer all your questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I have two questions.
Yes.
Expanding a little bit more about mutual aid, talking about my city, when there are CO2 leaks, for example, they already do, I guess, the first level of containment, and do you then come and work with them?
The local fire department?
Specifically with biotech, life science, those type of industry.
Depending on the industry it is, like larger ones, like Genentech, Gilead, those places, will have a response team that's on site. But again, if it's bigger than involves like life safety, we'll come in and take it over for them. But the small spills, they'll do it. The local mom and pop ones are called, the small ones, their response plan is us. Is to call 911, the local fire department will isolate the area initially, and then they'll call us, help mitigate and stabilize the form.
Many of us are very aware about using drone as first responder. How are you utilizing this? Is there even an opportunity or a space for you all to use drone or innovative tech in your?
We actually do. We partner a lot with our fire departments. Menlo Park being one of the leaders that's got a whole band that's got dedicated with drones. We do this, we go scout ahead, like the one I showed you with the vehicle that's offsite. We actually go scout ahead and see what it is. It's better for like situational awareness. It won't replace what we do, but gives us a better idea what's going on. We carry actually something called a tethered drone. Ours is called a photo cam. So it doesn't require any drone pilot's license. It's pretty much on a string. We launch it and it stays up there indefinitely as long as we have power to it. The manufacturer says it'll stay up there for 39 days. Great. I haven't tried that yet, but I want to give it a shot. It gives a nice aerial view. So we need to leave to do something else, or the incident is kind of stabilized. We want to monitor it. We can set up and we can leave and take care of something else by still monitoring the situation. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So these bigger firms like Gilead and Genentech, do they have an obligation if they have any hazard stuff because they can take care of it on their own campuses to report it to you?
They do. They do. They report that to the enforcement section of environmental health. They do all the reports are going out there when they do their inspections. There are some notifications, yes. And they do is they give us a whole, actually, they call it their business plan. We actually carry electronically. So we go there, we know all the chemicals they are, where they're located, what quantities they have. So they're actually really, really good to work with. So. Yes, sir.
Through the chair, if I may, thank you so much. Actually, Member Flores had took the question from me, so I guess great minds think alike. So I want to thank you for that. That was in case of the use of drones, which I'll make a little comment later on. What I didn't hear from you, and I think it's important for everyone to know, about 20 years, I tried donning that suit. And after about 15 minutes, that's it. And to have your folks, they didn't have to go for hours, and I want to say I'm impressed. The other comment I would like to make is I believe your presentation was very, very relevant because you gave specific examples of different cities. And I think that's a very, very important part. So my last question to you, and I see the last paragraph here, what do you need?
Oh, what do we need?
So I just thought I'd put that out there because it's definitely needed and working.
Well, I appreciate your comments on that, and I appreciate the blank check, I appreciate it. Yep, so you can slide it over here. But you are right, again, there's a lot of challenges going forward to get from where we were 7-10 years ago to where right now is a huge accomplishment, and we did that through our budgeting internally, but a lot through grants. Because again, all the monitors cost a couple $100,000, one cost us $400,000. There's no way we did that without the effects of grants, and that helped out actually a lot through DEM, helped us get a lot of those grants too, so. But yeah, I'll let y'all, ask me again in 6 months, I'll let you know. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you for the presentation. So one of your slides showed the other counties, right? So you look at that comparison, when you look at the per person coverage, do you ever have moments where you feel that you're undermanned?
At times, it gets mostly when, like, if an incident comes in Brisbane, we'll send 6 personnel, which is 2 engine companies out of our city, to go up to carry against if your incident's important to us. But there are times where we feel like, if we have more people you have there, the quicker it goes. When the team first started back in the 80s, they only sent 2 people. And so it would take 3-4 hours. When I first started the team, we only sent 4. And a hazmat call would take 3 to 4 hours. With us sending 6, we're down to about 2 hours. It's still a long time, but it's a lot quicker than it would be if we were to do 4 or 6 hours. If we had the incident we had in Menlo Park back in 2019, I believe it was, when we had a sarin scare at Facebook, which turned out to be just a chemical bag for a clothing, that was something probably feeling overwhelmed initially. I'm sitting on the phone with Quantico at the FBI, talking about feeling insignificant. Sure. But it's one of the things, everyone there is to help you. If you need help, you always have plenty of resources you can ask. If we need help, we can call in the mutual aid resources if that's the only incident that's going on. But we can't always rely on them in case something big is happening with it. But there are times you do feel like you're a little overwhelmed, but for probably in my 25 years being on the team, this probably only happened like once or twice.
Okay.
So it's rare. Where again, like anything else with the fire service, we make do with what we have, and we kind of move on with it. But it does happen occasionally.
So, talking about that mutual aid, if there's a fire, right? Different cities will send engines. That just seems to be what you do.
Yep.
Right. So in San Francisco, they might only have one hazmat team, but they have 600 members. And then in Santa Clara, I think you said they had 8.
That's correct.
Right. So if there are situations in the South, do you have that kind of relationship with Santa Clara?
We do.
And do you in San Francisco, where if you're overwhelmed in the North County, that they can come and assist?
Our mutual aid, we have a mutual agreement with Santa Clara County Fire Department, which is out of Milpitas. They are a dedicated team. They're staffed full-time with 8 personnel, 24 hours a day. And so if we have any incident in the county, they're our first team to come up. If we work with them, we train with them. So we do have that agreement automatically in place. San Francisco's Black Widow is kind of quirky on what they do because their hazmat team is staffed by the 2 rescue in the city, but they only have 2 of them. So if we call for them, we're taking 2 of their special resources for deal with structure collapses, fires, vehicle accidents out of their city to help us. And every time we ask them, they always said no. Because they don't want to take away that resource out of their city. So that's why we have an agreement with Santa Clara, because they have 8 they can pull from. We can get one from their county a lot easier than we can in San Francisco. Alameda County, it's just drive time, they drive too far. So Santa Clara can actually be here sooner. And Oakland, we asked Oakland as well too, they need to come over and they also said it no, because of the port they have. But the 95th Civil Support Team, which is right in Hayward, just across the bridge, they'll come by anytime we ask them. And we've used them as well too. They actually came into Menlo Park for that one day too.
And we've done the same.
Yeah, we'll go both ways. So rarely do we go outside the county because the neighboring counties are so flush with resources that they ask for us, we'll go. But very rarely is that because they have so many resources available versus just we're wanting it, that's it, so.
I read somewhere, and I could be wrong, that on the vehicle EV fire, there's some blanket that you guys put on, or is it just water that you're doing to put that?
Actually, the best course of action would be sled burn.
Sled burn.
Because they tried to, they put a blanket on it, they realized we're trapping all that methane gas, and we made just a giant bomb. And that's one of those bad things. So they found that they came out that things started to evolve, it wasn't a good thing. We can put water on it, but it just delays the inevitable. Because it's going through a chemical chain reaction that's not gonna stop no matter what we do. We let it burn, that fire we have in Daly City, the first unit got there, they had just a little bit of whiffs of smoke coming out of the battery pack. It was done within 20 minutes, which is about average. Doesn't matter what size the battery is, obviously the bigger battery take a little bit longer versus the smaller one, but it's about 20 minutes. We just let it burn. And we'll isolate the area, we'll evacuate downwind because of exposure to it, because again, if we keep putting water on it, all the same gases are still coming off. All the same heavy metals are still coming off. We're doing it over a longer period of time versus let it do its thing. Mother Nature take its work, then we go from there, so.
Is that a local, so let's say that happens on Highway 92, would our local fire department come and just let it burn? Or would they call hazmat team? Both.
Yeah, but like, they gave me an example, North County Fire was there, they monitor the area. We come up, we'll monitor, our monitors monitor like where the gases are gonna go and evacuate downwind using the burst systems that we have. We're very fortunate that day, it was rainy and there was no wind, shockingly. So everything's kind of stayed locally, it's at the perfect spot at the Hickey off ramp that wasn't gonna affect people. But if this was in 92 and El Camino or out on the coast where it might be affect more, then we work back evacuation to get people out just temporarily until the fire's done. So. Water on the board, I'll get you a second to do something.
I wanted to ask a little bit about cost recovery. We talked about this in the finance committee that you don't want to be charging people usually because you want them to call you, right? But are there ever instances where like a company is just not following the rules or some guy is collecting hazardous waste from Slack, like you said, that they're just like really stupid things that we need to find and punish them a little bit?
There is through the environmental health other side of the house. They are looking at a cost recovery and they actually can impose fees and fines. And they can actually bill the property owner or the responsible party for the cleanup costs. They encourage everything from, you bill for everything. From the moment the call's coming in, they bill for each firefighter that's there, like the equipment, the personnel, cleanup, time, everything else. And they will send a bill to the person, usually to their insurance. And then they'll get cost recovery that way, so.
But we never, in terms of, I'm just trying to find cost money to help build our program.
Oh, yeah.
That helps us.
Chief Lorenzen, would you like to share your experiences in Ventura County?
You want me to share them from here or come up?
Please come up here.
So I'm going to just real quickly interject. I apologize, colleagues. I volunteered to be on a PG&E advisory roundtable body so that I could work on, so I could help advocate for power grid resilience for our county. It came with some obligations. I have to be in San Luis Obispo at the nuclear power plant tomorrow, and I'm going to need to leave now if I'm going to get there at a decent hour. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to the vice chair. And just before I leave, I just want to tell you all how wonderful it is to be serving with you on this body, and extend my my appreciation to professional staff. But I'm looking at past a 1 a.m. arrival if I don't go soon. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and safe travels. Let's pick up where we were. Let's be mindful of time as well. So when we have a question, let's keep to the question and keep our scope narrowed. So at first we Director Shooty asked. Okay.
And I can address this quickly in about 30 seconds. My experience down south in Ventura County Fire Department, we had a really aggressive cost recovery program for our hazardous materials responses when there was negligence, and that just went back into our general fund. So that's something that's permissible through county DEM, and that's a possibility. I just put out a request for our policy down there so I can share it with Shrew.
Thank you so much.
Okay, hold on. Let's go through the chair. I'm going to go to City of San Mateo after 10, then Portola Valley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So thank you, Chief. I should just claim that I am on the board for the San Mateo Consolidated Fire. And one of the things we've been concerned about as a board is the aging of our truck and the replacement costs and planning for that. Can you tell us what the status is of equipment like trucks and when do we potentially need to have money available to replace the trucks?
The current vehicle we have now is from 2010, so it's 16 years old. And most vehicles, once you hit about 20 years, they're supposed to be cycled back out, put in a reserve status, and you have something to replace it. But it gets harder and harder to replace the vehicles, find parts for them, and do the maintenance and repairs just go through the roof once you hit about 20 years. And our current vehicle is about 16 years. If we were to order it today, I hand them the company a check, we won't see it for 5 years. That's just how the delay process in the building is right now. It's about sitting about 48 months just to physically build the vehicle, and takes about a year to design the vehicle. So it's in about 5 years for delivery, which if you order today, pushes out 21, 22 years of age. They're not cheap.
And I see on item 10, an authorization to hazmat vehicle initiate procurement. So it is on the agenda.
That's a perfect.
So let's save it for that.
Okay.
After 10 and then we'll talk about.
Yeah, they're very
There
expensive.
you go. So, the other thing was, I know we've seen a huge uptick in the response to lithium ion batteries. What percentage of these are small lithium ion versus car batteries?
Probably about 95%.
95% are
Yeah,
small.
vehicle batteries are actually a very small portion of it.
So have we looked at an alternative of having like a team of 2 with a van and going?
We haven't actually. What we're looking at now, instead of sending 2 fire engines to handle these, we'll only send just 1 or a pair of 2 people in a pickup truck that carry the supplies in we order to mitigate the incident. Because once the battery's done this thing, you have to get rid of it, right? It's hazardous waste. So we actually would take it, put it in some packaging, take it from the individual, and we send it back to recycling for them. Because again, the space, if I let it left up to the property owner, they're probably up in the trash, right? Or down the storm drain. So we want to make sure it gets disposed of properly, but we have looked at alternative response models that helps decrease the exposure to our home agency. And we're also still maintaining good coverage for the rest of the county.
Thank you.
Well,
Sure. So just first off, thanks for the presentation. It seems that if you're not sure what it is, the critical path is your analysis, individual or individuals that will do the chemical analysis to determine what it is. How many of those people, or is the whole team trained to do that?
The whole team is trained for it.
Okay.
We do have the members from environmental health that respond out. They're the ones that actually went and got their bachelor's in science, and they also don't assist with it, but if they're unavailable, we can do all the same testing as well.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Valerie.
Well, I'm just fixated on this EV question and wondering if we're evaluating the degree of risk we're increasing and how, say, a town like Cordova that has 1 million electric vehicles and 1 million lithium batteries. How do you weigh the risk and should there be an assessment for that risk on your with your program? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole adage, it's not a problem till it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but like to assess like a local risk, I mean, like, there is risk. But if it's happy place for design to be, there's 0 risk at all. It's just when people do back and do stupid things is where it becomes a problem, and that's when the risk exponentially goes up.
Except in the case of fire.
Well, I mean, because it'll be something like where, there's a traumatic event to the battery, or the battery's exposed to a fire, like a structure fire. Again, the biggest hazard we have is the mobility devices, the scooters, the wheelchairs, the e-bikes, those, compared to the cars. Actually, it says that we've only had, I think, 2 in this county in the last, like, I think 3 years, 3 or 4 years, of actually vehicles that involve EVs, where the battery was the cause. But everything else has been involved with the scooters. And I don't know if you can assess, if somebody for buying that, I don't really know how that would work. I don't make a lot of people angry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I wish I had a better answer for you, but unfortunately I don't, so.
Okay, is there any public? I'm being told we have no public comments and confirmed. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let's move on to item 8. This is something that everybody's enjoying, I'm sure, with their city managers and staff. The 26-27 Emergency Services Council Joint Powers Authority proposed budget. This is going to require a vote. And so I would ask us to, again, keep our questions succinct. To the point, I'm gonna ask for questions on the presentation. And then I'm gonna see if there's any public comment, and then I'm gonna bring back, see if there's any comments and or action.
Thank you. So I had the opportunity this year, to get more involved in the budget process, which was a great learning experience to me. I want to thank Andrew Lowe, who is here, who's with the county executive's office, who provided a tremendous amount of support, in compiling this year's budget. And so before we get into the budget, I just want to kind of do a brief overview and remind everyone that we're really focused on preparedness efforts, that we're focused on response, mitigation, and recovery. So preparedness, that's things like training, exercise, working on emergency operations plan. In response, talk a lot about alert and warning tonight, and so focusing things on like that. How do we work with our jurisdictional partners, and how can we support through mutual aid? Mitigation, we're currently working on updating the county's local hazard mitigation plan, which has to be done every 5 years. We were able to get a grant. All of the jurisdictions are involved in that, plus 16 special districts. So that's been a great effort. And then recovery, we work as a liaison between the state and the federal government and the local jurisdictions. I don't need to tell any of you that we're in some pretty difficult times. All of our jurisdictions are facing this. And so we are facing a lot of challenges, and we are very closely evaluating all of our programs, all of the things that are coming in. We're continuously looking at federal policy and how that may impact grants. We get around 5 to 10% of our budgets annually that is provided through grants. And then we're looking at all of our operational costs. How are we spending our money? Are we doing it effectively? Are there other ways avenues that we may be able to pursue to go after that? So when we look at closing out this year's budget, we have estimated around 800,000 to be left over in the trust. Plus last year, a recommendation from the finance committee and through the council, we established a hazmat vehicle replacement fund. So there'll be 150,000 that's in that. So 950,000 remaining between those two accounts. Our total anticipated budget this year is $4.5 million. I'll note that last year it was 4.7. Of that, we think 42% will come from the cities, 41% from the county, around 8% from grants, and then around 9% comes in as revenue from San Francisco International Airport. When we take a breakdown of what the city's costs are, around 20% of that is operational area communication. So these are radios that law enforcement use, tactical channels. These are microwave radios that are at the hospitals that allow them to communicate to the emergency operations center here. And then it's also phone lines that connect all of the local jurisdictional EOCs to the county EOC. We have the emergency management costs, so that's what is reflected in the work that we do with the council here. That's around 15%. Around 7% goes to our services and supplies, so this building and things that we do to act as a department. And then 56% of that goes to support the hazmat team. We've seen how critical that is. We actually hold the hazmat contract, and so that money is collected through the council here, and then it's paid out to San Mateo Consolidated Fire to do that work. When we take a look at our overall $4.5 million budget for the entire council and looking at everything, 25% of that goes to service charges, and that also includes the hazmat vehicle replacement fund. 32% of that comes from salaries and benefits to staff that is funded through the council. And then 42% of that is in programs or contracts, so the actual work that we are doing. This slide goes over some of the major projects that we're working on. As I mentioned, we're working on completing the local hazard mitigation plan. We expect the bulk of that work to occur in this budget cycle, but it will transition into the next budget cycle. We were able to obtain a grant for that work that paid for 75% of that. So the bulk of that work was paid for that. And it was really effective to do it through this council because it allows all of the jurisdictions to then do it. So they don't have to do it on their own. I want to recognize council member Sylvester from Daly City, who helped point out that grant opportunity to us. We went forward and we were able to successfully get it. So that's a great example of how we can come together. We can bring in some additional grant funds, and we can do a lot of really good work that helps to take some of that burden off of those jurisdictions. And this also matters because it has impact on our ability to get some recovery funds. It can change some of that cost share. It changes our ability to get grant revenues. If we don't have this grant program, we're not eligible to go after hazard mitigation grant dollars, which can be quite significant at times. They're a little light now, but we anticipate that they'll come back. We're working on building situational awareness tools. And so this is a platform that will work in our emergency operations center. It allows us to understand what's going on, to handle logistical requests and to be able to fill those, and then work towards disaster recovery. Hopefully someone can stop that.
Snooze that.
And so that's not just for us. The purpose of that work is that we started here and then we figure out a way to work with the individual jurisdictions. This new work that we're doing is working in the Microsoft environment. So we're utilizing the tools that people use every day and allowing them to bring that into the emergency operations center, which we think will make operations much smoother. People don't have to remember their passwords. They don't have to learn a new system. And it really does help to make things more efficient. And we think it will make for a much more effective platform. We're doing a lot of work around the communications that we do in the community outreach. We do 1 to 2 community outreach events a month because we recognize how important it is to be able to be meeting our community where they are. And then we've shown you tonight a lot of the work that we're doing around communications, understanding that our ability to effectively communicate during disasters is critical to help support our public. We're working on bringing in training so that we can not only train our staff, but staff at jurisdictions. As Supervisor Mueller mentioned, the criticality of these tabletop exercises and some other things, bringing these groups together and being able to talk about it. We want to bring people in to do that, right? They can create the scenario. So and we can come in as one team. No one knows what's going on and it tests us much more effectively. Plus they can bring in the experience that they have working with jurisdictions from around the country. And then lastly is the money that goes to our annual disaster preparedness day, which will be at the event center on August 1st this year. And so that's a great outreach event that we hold annually. We get several thousand people for that. So I want to note before I get to this next slide that in your packets, you'll see that you have 2 spreadsheets that break down what the budget is. And we are constantly looking at that budget, reevaluating things, taking a look at things. And one of the things that we realized is that last year, the proposed budget was $4.7 million. And through the finance committee and then through the council, it was decided that we would withdraw $300,000 from the trust, and that would help offset some of those costs. And so in the first binder, you'll see what the cost share would have been for the 4.7 without withdrawing those funds from the trust. And the second one reflects what your jurisdictions were actually inputs. And so we just wanted to make sure we were clear and we had both of those things in there. As we look ahead towards next year, I'll note that we went down to 4.5 million. Of that, 93% comes from revenue that we get from the jurisdictions, and we're seeing about 7% coming in from grants. And now open it up to any questions.
And so, as the assistant director said, it's only the change to the one section, it's not the whole document, which, if that makes sense. So it's the contributions by the organization, cities and towns. That's what's different on the leaflet that is loose, opposed to the one that's in the book. Everything else is the same. So with that, let's go questions. We'll start with Atherton, go to San Mateo, then we'll go to South City and see to Daly City. We're gonna go in that rotation so you can get prepared for your succinct question. Any questions on this side, on my right side?
No, I've gone over.
You good? All right, I'm good. Foster City.
Yeah, it seems with all the education and training that you could be bringing in more revenue for training in surrounding cities.
So this is funds that's coming in from all of the jurisdictions. We're using that to provide training for all of them. So we're hiring contractors to come in and provide that training, putting all of us at a level.
Well, I'm kind of looking outside of the jurisdiction.
So we're not in a position to provide training.
Okay.
It's not a revenue driver for us. This is about experience and trying to be as best prepared as we can to handle it. We simply don't have the staffing or the ability to provide training as a revenue driver.
Anything else? Pacifica.
There's an error on here. I believe, because I was looking at the Pacifica numbers earlier and, the recommended budget number is very close to the same, but $8,000 is more like 10%, not 1.7%.
That's the total share of the budget, not the change in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Okay.
Sorry,
Is-
yeah, I got it.
Is there any public comment on this item?
It was only.
I just got this, can I just have a minute to look at it? I didn't have it.
That's why I'm gonna ask for public comment.
Okay.
So I'll give you a little time. Any public comment?
We have one number in the.
And that member comes first because you come and you're sitting with us this evening. Please come.
Hey, good evening. My name is Brandon Bonds. I'm with the city of Menlo Park. Been in the op area for a long time. Very happy to be with city of Menlo Park, but I wanted to get some perspective. I came from the private sector doing emergency management. One of my companies that I work for, just for two-way Motorola radios, was $4 million a year budgeted. I was responsible for building a response program for Ebola. We spent $1.5 million in equipment to treat 2 patients. So $4.5 million for emergency preparedness at a county level is not a lot of money. So I just hope that you would support emergency management, support your local emergency management, because it takes people and it takes stuff, and stuff costs money. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here and thank you for your comments. There being no speakers online, we will bring it back to the body for any last minute comments. Redwood City.
Yes, I just got this right now.
Yes, I know.
And so does this sound, I don't have to have dollars and cents or exact, but it sounds like that for Redwood City, the increase from last year is 11%. Does that sound?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so what you were saying before, that you've reduced the budget.
So last year there was a reduction in budget and the first spreadsheet that was put in there just had the 4.7 as it was spread apart before the 3 million was done, 300,000, excuse me. Was decided to be drawn down to reduce that jurisdictional cost. What we wanted to make sure what we did in showing this updated spreadsheet is that is a reflection of what you were actually in here last year. And so the change is in the 25-26 budget. And so if you look at the spreadsheet that's in your packet, you'll see that value is slightly higher. The second spreadsheet reflects what was actually paid.
So are all cities increased by 11%?
Yeah, so the formula is it's not 11% flat, there is some variability in there, but it's based upon actual data and the population for each individual jurisdiction.
So what's the range? Some have 0%?
No, I
Some
would,
have 50% increase,
I
or what's the
believe
range?
they are,
They're from 7 to 16%, most of them staying at around 12%.
Okay,
And so it's based on tax roll data and census data. That's the base. And then on top of that, every city pays $2,500 as an additional amount. And for environmental health totally, all of you pay it's a very small portion. It's like 35,000. So most of the base is calculated based on your tax roll data and your census data.
and the reason for the increase, the range being whatever you said, 16% to whatever. The reason for that increase across the board in that range is why? Because of increased costs, because
is either a reflection of the increase in population or an increase in tax roll.
But I think what the Vice Mayor is asking is, why is it increased? So yes, there are salary increases, just like we deal with our staff, health and welfare. There are costs and other avenues that, anything that you and I are gonna deal with in our budget process happens here. So whether it's acquiring stuff, whether it's paying for staff, so yes, and I've been on here since 2006. I know, I'm not young. And I can tell you there has always been, since I'm here, I've been here, an increase of some element. And it was just a matter of how much do you want to use the reserves? And if you want not use them, they'll be higher. You want to use them, which we have them, and that's what this council has said in the past, which was, hey, let's try to make it easier on the cities and towns because it's not easy. So that, it's. I think no city budget has ever been at, the same as it was the year before, same principle here.
I think some of the confusion might be that you actually reduced the overall budget, but we're all getting charged. more,
Yeah, I-
right? So maybe just
The
explain.
reduction in the overall budget
grants.
is primarily due to, we had, in last year's budget, there was a large revenue of grant that came in to support the local hazard mitigation plan. That's now being spent, and there's not new grant funds being coming in to replace that.
Grants have a lot to do with it, and as you know, I don't say California, but maybe some way back east hasn't been really, helpful. Last two,
Yeah,
John and,
thank you. Yeah, I share my colleagues' concerns. So how does the budget, I mean, like, how does the JPA work, I guess is my question. Meaning, is it determinative, like, there's a formula in there, out comes your budget, and you guys have to map to that? Or is it, what the chair said is you guys, expenses are up this year, now it gets allocated.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, but the formula for each city's cost share, most of that comes from what your population is and what the tax roll data is.
But you guys have, like, you can choose to have, like, if your expenses go up, you get to just pass that on. I mean, like, what's determining the total?
So we have salaries and benefits increases that are occurring in there. Most of the increases, what you're seeing in there is due to operating costs, and those are associated, and the percentage that you get charged is from that data.
Got it, but what controls that? I mean, is there, is it this, our oversight right here and now is determining how much we're gonna authorize you to then peanut butter around the JPA? Or, is there a mechanism that tells you, hey, this is your allocation, we're all assessed X amount, here's what you have.
So there's an estimated budget, and then there is an increase that's occurring based upon what is on your population and on that tax roll data, and so that sets the total amount of the increase.
Okay. So you are given a fixed number that you have
Yeah.
to manage. Okay, that's what I was not understanding.
Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then, when we look at this in the future, I definitely think you should have the column with percent change, right? That's what we're all scratching our head about here, so I appreciate that in the future.
Yeah, we can absolutely add that. Past councils had asked for it in that direction, but we can absolutely change it to a percent change.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, that's a good point to have a variance column, so we get to see.
Yes.
I just wish Supervisor Mueller was still here because, being part of the Finance Committee, we had talked about this budget. And one of them pertains to the acquisition of the hazmat vehicle, where he had gave, recommendation, to reach out, to Menlo Park Fire District and see, and I think the guests who spoke today for maybe they can help in some way, shape or form. And my first question is, have we done that, or is there any further thoughts, or will we be doing it?
Yes, so we are reaching out to all the fire districts.
Okay.
And we've done 2 out of the 4 fire districts and asked them.
Great.
And so one of the bigger concerns is that a lot of the fire districts, there's a city that pays into it, and then the fire district also, if they pay into it, you're taxing an individual twice. And so there's concerns about that. But both the fire districts did tell us that we could put a proposal to their board if we so fit, but they wouldn't think that would be that would pass.
Okay, well, if you could explain that to Supervisor Mueller, so at least someone had begged the question. So I think that would help tremendously. And my last comment is, you've heard the term, you can lead someone to the water, but it's up to you to drink. Thank you for moving ahead on the local hazard mitigation plan grant. That was quite some time ago. Now we're spending it. That's number one. And number two, in most of the budgets I've seen, 32% for salary is a low number. Usually, for salaries, it runs much higher percent, so I wanna say, you're doing so much more with less, and I appreciate the work that, you folks do. Thank you very much.
Redwood City.
I would just, I just got this, anyway, so I just want to, finish my comments that, or not finish, but I have additional comments. I'm impressed that the amount that of the budget that's for grants is 8%, which is higher than any one city's. Happy to see that. And I'm also just representing my city that, over 40% is paid for by the county. I'm happy about those two things. And,
And just to compare, grants last year were 16.4%.
oh, because of the grant?
Yes. That's why, right? So, but thank you, Redwood City, for the comments. I do want to take a moment just to thank Hillsborough, Daly City, Pacifica, and San Bruno do sit on the finance and admin committee. So we are going over and vetting these things and having Mr. Sylvester come up with a great idea. And so this is getting with staff, we go through it once before it even comes here to kind of go through the numbers and see about costs. Is there anything else from anyone? Because I know this is important, it's a budget. Gosh knows we'll all be dealing with this soon enough ourselves. If there being none, is there any action by the board? By the council?
Let's take that for a second.
I have a motion from Hillsborough, a second from Daly City to be because of Zoom. Millbrae's participation from Vice Mayor Rinaldi. Will do a roll call, please.
Okay, Tom Alperton,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Colma,
Yes.
Daly City, that's right. East Palo Alto.
Yes.
Foster City,
Yes.
Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Millbrae,
Yes.
Pacifica,
Yes.
Portola Valley,
Yes.
Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos,
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco. Yes. And County of San Mateo.
He's on the road.
Okay, got it.
Thank you, everybody, very much. I know it's a lot to deal with, and I can only wish that you go back to your council during your budget session and it's unanimous. So with that, let's move on to item 9, exception to trust fund of 500,000 minimum balance.
Thank you so much, council. I appreciate the approval of the budget. One of the items that this council had decided was that the minimum balance of the trust fund is 500K. And this policy, when you look at the MOU, it basically says the organization will maintain a minimum balance of 500K in the trust fund with a maximum of 1.5 million. This policy can be reviewed and updated with the majority vote of the ESC. I would like to ask for an exemption for us to go below that 500 in order to procure the hazmat vehicle. The next voting item is would authorize me to procure the hazmat vehicle. The reason we want to do this is because the more we put down as a down payment, the less money we'll have to pay over time.
And that goes to the city of San Mateo that was asking about the costs and trying to have equipment to show. Are there questions, city of San Mateo?
There's always an element of the sooner we make that investment, the less it costs.
Yes.
So that would be just something that.
Yes, thank you.
I just have a question.
Pacifica, Menlo Park, then Brisbane, please.
I didn't see a number in here, maybe I missed it, or how
We
much?
did not put a number because there may be we're still having conversations with the fire district. I will continue my best to have conversations with life sciences as well to get as much as we can. There may be it is very possible that we may have to take out only 500K out of the 800K that's in there, or I may, depending on circumstances financially, I may actually just take out the entire 800K. So this is a blanket exemption for me to use it for a down payment.
Go ahead.
So last time we were here, we were talking about the hazardous vehicle. And it wasn't really in the budget, or it just somehow got lost in the budget. are we gonna look forward now in the next 20 years and make sure that we are gonna put the new one on the budget, even though we're ordering one, and now down the road from 20 years, are we gonna be not pulling money from somewhere else and doing this again?
Thank you, great question. So the plan is that if we end up taking all of the trust fund monies, once we have bought the vehicle, we will continue the 150K replacement. That replacement will go back into the trust fund until we hit a maximum cap. Then that money will then go back into the vehicle replacement fund. And so it will go back and forth like that, the cyclical. So we are able to, because hazmat vehicles in 10 years or 20 years will be a lot more expensive. So we will need to continue building not just the trust fund, but also vehicle replacement fund.
Thank you, Menla.
Yes, so, thank you, Chair. So, I know we have a finance committee, and so I'm just curious if there's any input from the finance committee on this request.
I'm gonna go to this side next.
Okay, well, I mean, you're the chair of the finance committee.
I wouldn't say I'm the chair of the supervisor's chair.
Okay, of the finance committee.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few of us.
Okay.
So, but I have Redwood City's hand up, so I just want to get that and then they can maybe finish off on your. Oh, I'm sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, you mentioned previously with regards to going to the fire district, does any of this decision affect going to the fire districts and asking them for that? For a contribution?
So it's my understanding, and I would love my fire colleague to answer this question. It's my understanding, the more you put down, the lesser it costs over a period of time. And so, the down payment is an important factor. You could finance it, of course, but then that would cost us more. Collectively, it would cost us more. Chief Lorenzen, Chief Thorne.
Happy to answer that question. Again, Mark Lorenzen, Menlo Park Fire. I think to answer your question is, regardless of what your decision is tonight, it's not gonna stop Shruti from coming in and ask us for a donation. All right? And separately, right? But as to whether you should pay a larger amount upfront or not, we had a significant purchase not too long ago where just our finance folks took a look at it and said it makes much better sense to pay monies upfront, especially on a 4 to 5 year contract, than to pay it on delivery, 5 years from now with elevated costs. So hopefully that answers questions.
That's it. Okay. Redwood City, and then we'll move to this side and then see if the finance committee wants to add it.
So I'm just using this as an opportunity because I have a microphone, so please, I apologize in advance. So let me start by saying that I plan to support this. And first of all, I'd like to thank the finance committee for volunteering even more time than we do in these meetings. Really appreciate that. And secondly, I do plan to support this. I plan to vote in favor of this, and thank you for your excellent fiscal responsibility. Now to my microphone. I read the newspaper every day according to the New York Times, which does fact checking. There is one there has been there's a monopoly on the manufacturers of fire trucks. And if we don't have an active antitrust department, because this is clear, we don't have active antitrust at the federal level, because this is clearly harming public safety throughout the United States. And the other thing I'll say about it is that the IAFF addressed Congress in the Senate in September, complaining about the fact that there is a lack of diversity. There's one manufacturer, and it's a violation of antitrust. And this is an example that we're being held over the barrel over factors that are so much more magnified than San Mateo County or any of our cities. And it's no fault of anyone in this room, but to the extent this is a public meeting, it's incumbent upon all of us to raise awareness about this threat to public safety nationwide. There should not be a for-profit, one corporation whose job is to make profit holding all fire departments throughout the United States over a barrel. It's just not right.
Thank you. Madam Vice Mayor. We're gonna go down this way and then I'll ask the finance committee if they have anything to share. San Carlos.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Like, it's a big, understand the need, generally supportive. It's a big ask, right? I don't think any of us have served in any capacity with an organization that has to take its reserve to zero.
Yes.
This is extraordinary. I don't have the chair's long history on this board. What is our history of needing to tap this reserve intermittently, unexpected expenses, like things you expect to be able to use a reserve for?
I think that's a great question that I don't believe I can answer, given I have not been here long enough. Traditionally, just looking at the books, the trust fund was usually pulled into operational budget to support the cities when the year-over-year cost was too much. And looking at grants is how we bought the past vehicles and the trust fund. And so we don't have the grants portion, and we are living in uncertain times right now. But what I can assure you is that if we don't use all of this money, we're gonna be paying more money in the future. And I think that's my biggest concern.
And then what does the plan B look like if something extraordinary happens? Is it a majority approval of the JPA to put a special assessment down on the cities and county? Is that what that looks like? Is that operationally straightforward? Is that a huge lift?
That's a really good question. I think I would refer to the finance committee and the members of this committee that have been here for a very long time to make those recommendations and suggestions.
It's probably helpful to have the finance committee, start with letting us know, since we don't really know, so that would be
I
helpful.
understand. And let me get, some people have had their hands up, so I want to be respectful to that. I want to give everybody a chance. And then I think it also helps the finance committee to hear all those questions and then be able to go to them. Then we're going back and forth. I'm sorry, did you have?
Oh, I just had a very similar question. What is it gonna cost? You must have some estimate of the.
Yeah, so we're looking at 1.9 to 2.2 million approximately.
Who's making
We don't know yet. We haven't started the procurement.
They're different,
Go ahead, please.
they're different company names, but that's just a charade. It's one corporation that's responsible to make all the profit throughout the United States, according to the New York Times and the IAFF, the firefighters, National Firefighter Union, has complained to the United States Senate that it's an impermissible monopoly. That I already said that.
Foster City.
Yeah, I haven't sat on the committee a long time. We just approved a budget. What I'm really interested in is listening to the finance committee, because and I agree with some of your comments. But it's kind of like we've approved a budget and now we've kind of got this open-ended situation where I feel we need the equipment. So what is it? Is it come back to the finance committee when it gets a little bit different, whether we put certain amount of money down, don't put certain amount of money down, or is it up to the chair for her to make that decision? So it sounds a little loosey-goosey the way that it's presented. I'm not feeling comfortable with the procedure only, not the intent of what we need to do or the intent of spending. That's where my position is.
Okay. Director, if you can answer Foster City's question as far as how is that determination made by whom? Whether, like you had said, is it we use 300, we use it all? How does that, or does it come back to a particular body of work?
So I think right now you all can set a limit. So we know there's 800. I would like to use all of it. Cause remember, we also have vehicle replacement funds also going at the same time. You all are welcome to say, no, we can, have a vote for, you need to just keep at least 200 in the trust fund. And so I think that is up to this committee to decide. My proposal is give me the ability to use as much as I need to use, knowing that we have other things that we're looking at to trying to minimize how much we take out of it.
And I think where Foster City is, and maybe Brisbane is like, all of us usually say to the executive or the manager, you have the ability of not to exceed X, whatever that number is. So it's usually not where you come from to where it's just like, well, I may use 75% of it, I may use 100%. But then the other element that we are obligated to is, so who makes that call? If we just say, it's up to you, or does it come back to the finance committee? Does it come back to the chair? I think that's where, just to kind of summarize, in a council world, what we're accustomed to seeing.
My only comment to that, I agree with that, but like you said, well, if we don't have the debt, or the more we put down, the less payment. But maybe there's another structure on how we can do it that might even be more cost effective too.
We're gonna go to South San Francisco and then see if Hillsborough, Daly City, or Pacific.
Combining as what you said, Chair, and my colleague from Foster City, I think I'd like to see some type of maybe options in a table that actually say you have done your research in the team and you're at this range. And it's more closely, it's not that we don't believe you, but it's kind of arbitrary for me to just say, oh, it's 800. I believe you that you would bring back the money, and I believe that, the more we give, the less expensive, obviously, those are true factors, but I'd like to see a little bit more of recommendations. These are actually the numbers that we were able to pull up, so that then I guess the finance committee or this body would then be able to give you additional authority.
Absolutely. So we did do that research last year, and last year it was ranging from 1.5 to 1.9 million. The prices have gone up significantly.
I guess maybe to clarify, maybe different models of if we kept this amount in the trust, this is what would look like, that comparison.
Okay.
So I think what South City is saying is if so much of a down payment and you had to go into payment, what is that? I think that's what. Hillsborough, Daly City, or Pacifica?
So I'll just really quickly in a framework. The JPA is formed, county come up with 50% of the membership. Our cities, all of us, by the tax roll, by the populations, come up with our share of the membership. And I'll use membership in that sense because at the end of the day, share service is going to keep our overhead down. That is advantageous for all of us. Over the years, the expense goes up, mostly is salary and benefits. All the others remain pretty much the same. But this department used to be embedded in sheriff department. And so we used to have captain who is the lead of the executive director. And so there are buckets of money that is kind of spread it around in sheriff's spreadsheets. And I think that when Shruti took over, she spent an enormous amount of time to try to bring out all those accounts, and then therefore we have the $4.7 million in terms of the budget. The trust fund, similar to our cities, are the reserves, right? If God forbid something happened, we need to have a 6-month sort of operation cost. And that's sort of how we kind of meant it that way. We kind of come up with the $500,000 to 1.5 million because that's sort of in the range, and we don't know what kind of disaster that was going to be. So that was where we're at. But there's flexibility in that. And over the years, what we have found is that because the cost of the personnel go up, we end up either have to go back to our prospective cities and says, guess what, Hillsborough, you need to come up with another $1,000. And the timing, we have to do it in April so that our cities have the heads up and all these other things. So over the years, this body decided many times to say, let's dip into the trust fund to make up for that differences. And so that has been sort of the, I won't call it tradition, but sort of the patterns that we've been following. Now, if something happened that is going to draw our reserve down, and this body decided that we need to maintain our reserve, then it will require that we go back to our prospective cities and says, you need to come up with whatever the amount of money to make it up for that. And the county the same too. So that's sort of in the framework, that's how it was going to be. Now, as far as the vehicle, because in the past, the operation is such that there's not a consistency in terms of that we need to have a vehicle fund to support that replacement. So 20 years go by really fast, and now here we are, 4 years, that will be hitting the milestones of replacement. So the fitting of the engine, the specs, I suspect that you would have to work with our San Mateo Consolidated in terms of the spec of that vehicle. It's different from the engine and the trucks that we, our fire departments operated. So that's the specs that you're, and that's why with the tariff and all this other stuff, the price is going up. And it was 1.5 average for a vehicle. Now we're looking at 2.2. And the advantage is that if you throw it down and then you will be able to pay in full, it costs us less upfront. But if we wait for 4 years to get that delivered to us, that cost is going to go up. And we have no control over how much that was going to be. So hopefully that in a nutshell kind of explained a little bit.
Thank you. Let's go to Pacifica and Daly City, please.
Yeah. I'm new on the finance committee, so I'm always listening and learning from Maria and others, but in our meeting, we talked about the idea of going below the 500,000 reserve. We didn't talk about how much below, right? So that's really all new. And for me, like, I don't know. I mean, that makes me uncomfortable to not have a reserve. Like, we're expecting a super El Nino this winter. We might need some extra money, right? So, I mean, I'd love to learn from you all, like, yeah, do you use it that way in an emergency? Because it takes a while to get money from all the cities and the county. Like, do we need another pot that we might need to draw from, more immediately? I don't know that answer.
So perhaps here's another way that we can look at this is to have Shruti work with the chiefs to come up with a spec and to at least get some RFP going so that we at least have some idea how much we're talking about. And then this body can decide, do we want to delay this or do we want to move forward? So to sort of, get the saving, that would be a decision. Because I think that right now we're all kind of working in the vacuum that we're not really knowing the numbers.
Correct.
That makes it difficult.
The reason I'm saying hold on is because I have Vice Mayor Rinaldi who's been with his hand up virtually. And so some of us have already spoken. I want to be respectful and have everybody have an opportunity.
Thanks, Vice Chair Medina. I want to echo Commissioner Flores' comments that it would be nice to see some different options. Commissioner Schwang, I believe you had mentioned that we may need to table this just for a little while if we were going to go down that avenue. I realize that this is a 5-year procurement process, but draining the reserves and having to go back to the taxpayers if an emergency were to come up in the very immediate future, which I believe Commissioner Dugan, that was your comment, not knowing what the history of that may or may not be. I think it would be helpful if we had those different options to see, can we finance this thing? What would be the timeline to do it? Because I'd hate to drain the reserves completely and have to go back to the taxpayers. So that would be my comment. I would simply suggest that maybe we come back with some options for the body to take a look at before proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. I want to give Daly City Lynn Sylvester the opportunity, and I know there were still some more hands up.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Wow. I've listened to most of the folks here and I have a few schools of thought. First of all, I always remain optimistic that things will always work out. But second, I feel that we work long and hard to make and create this reserve. We kind of treat this reserve as Commissioner Chuan says, that in cases of hard times, and Commissioner Bowles is concerned because we both sit on the Finance Committee. I didn't have any idea how much of this we were going to use. And quite actually, I was quite surprised. But I'm trying to balance the need based upon what we received tonight in the presentation, 4 to 5 years. But I think if we wait, based upon from what I've heard, another 3 months so that we can be armed with the data to make a decision, I think that that would be very prudent. There's another saying I always use, and watch the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. And I think that that's what I'm hearing here. But at the same time, a confused mind will always say no. So from what I hear, I would like to see more options. How much of this 500K we were going to use? Because 500K, if we use 500K, that represents 25% of the cost. I don't think it's going to be that much difference if we wait another 3 months with options. If we don't say use 500K, what if we only use 200K or 300K? What's that going to bring about? I mean, how much difference, how much in savings are we going to have? So it's a constant learning experience for me. I don't know everything, but that's why we are all here together so that we can make an informed decision.
So as the last person on the Finance Committee to speak, so I know many of you and perhaps for some years, and so this to me, just by hearing these are some good questions. The reserves too had built up to such a point in the past. I mean, almost $2 million. Wow. And it was like, and again, it's not a reserve for a city or town to call up and say, we need $500,000. That's not what, and it is a reserve, but it's been called a trust. And usually it's always been used fundamentally to lower the cost of the town or the city. It's almost like when you have rollover for maybe employee savings and we're saying, okay, so we can balance the budget a little better because we're rolling over $200,000 for whatever it is. So it's the same principle. And I think what the thought process was trying to get ahead of this because we really don't have equipment reserve. We were under the sheriff's department. So it was like they had the vehicles, but we used them. But then when it was separated under the executive county managers, and that was during the COVID time, then we had to go out and purchase vehicles. And the hazmat, that has always been the case. It's not because we're different outside the sheriff. That's a part of us. But if I might state, but the chair is probably on the road, so he's not listening to the meeting. I might make the suggestion that hearing all the comments that we've heard this evening, that we take it, that the director and her team take it back with those comments and understanding to bring back some various options or opportunities of A, B, or C, just as we get it in staff as far as alternatives. And to see with that, we can have the Finance Committee and admin vet it out before it comes back here, so we can maybe try to do some more of the homework. Would that be acceptable to everybody?
Yeah, and if I may
Yeah,
add,
I'm sorry, and I wanted to go back to you, Cliff, because you had asked.
So, another thing, Trudy, if you're asking for the funds, it would be great to know how you would put those funds back into the trust. Right, so if there's a timeline, or okay, I'll take these out, but I think, over X amount of time, we'll be able to replenish those funds.
Absolutely.
So I want to just share that we will not in 5 years have enough money to pay for $2.5 million or $2.2 million vehicle. We will have to take out all of these funds, and I hear you all, we're happy to bring back options. The because we're only charging 150K per year, and over 5 years, that money plus 800K does not add up to, 2.2 million. So this is the reality of the situation. To your point, the way to put money back into the reserve is to keep that 150 replacement fund. It will just fluctuate, it will just cycle back and forth between the trust fund and the vehicle replacement fund. So once we have built up the trust fund, that money will then go back to the vehicle replacement fund and on and on and on. So over years, it would just cycle back and forth.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, and then having that information and like showing with charts, it makes it a lot easier for us to make those decisions.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Last comment.
So, you know, I'm new here this year, but on every other committee I've been, both with the county as well as for 16 years with Atherton. We have always seen the expenses, the detailed expenses. And we want to buy something, we show where it's going to be and what the alternatives are. Can you buy it over time, take a loan out, those type of things. We see all that. And, you know, I'm coming to this meeting and it's like, not like a trust me, but it kind of is. And I agree with Hillsborough. We maintain of all of our revenue, a 15% operational reserve and a 15% disaster reserve or emergency reserve. And giving that away, I think, is foolish. You want to maintain that. You need to cover your cash flow with your operational reserve because month to month things change, as well as, you know, your emergency reserve. So personally, I would like to see what the overall plan would be, both from you know, the revenues you're hoping to get from the communities, as well as what your expenses are going to be. And it would be great to see that over a 5-year period of time. Because when you do that, then we actually see the picture. We're allocating money to what we're going to do year after year, so we can do things over time and we know what's going on. Now, maybe I should volunteer. I'll be happy to be on the finance committee if there's an opening, but that's how we've been doing it. And we've really cleaned up our finances from when I first got there. When I got on the Atherton Council, they were going to be bankrupt in 4 years. Okay, we corrected all that. But we've got to be able to see how the whole thing plays out. And when you have a major capital expense, it's shown that this is the alternatives that we're going to get, and this is what the benefits are going to be. And, you know, without that, you know, I can't support one way or the other because I don't have the data. So thank you very much for listening.
You're very welcome and we welcome you.
I'm sorry to bother you. I know.
You're not bothering me.
I'm sorry to bother everybody. I just have a question. Like, the vehicle now is 15 years old. You know, 20 years is about its expected life. It's gonna take us 5 years to get there. So we don't wanna wait too long to place our order, right? Is there, I don't know how the financing works for the company we buy it. Like, could we put in our order so we, you know, lock in the price today as opposed to the price 3 or 6 months from now? We can put in whatever deposit we can, but then pay off earlier, so we're not paying interest over the long time.
You didn't think you'd be up this much.
No, this is great. I can provide clarity. Just my professional opinion is absolutely you should consider replacing the hazmat vehicle. I will say with these contracts, you will put out an RFP. That's going to be the next item. You should do that because it will take probably more than 3 months to get the bids back in. There are 3 big providers in the United States that will probably give you bids. We'll see. When they give you a bid, they will give you a price if you pay on acceptance of the contract and another price upon delivery. It's set. You will lock in your price. So there may be, if there's supply chain issues, there might be a little paragraph in there that allows them to escalate some costs. But once you have those RFPs and the bids, you're set, you know what the number is. And then it's just a numbers question as to how much you want to pay out and figure out the final. Take a loan. Hopefully that is.
Yeah, okay, I saw, yes.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, you know, this is a tough one and I appreciate everyone's perspective. I just want to recognize, Madam Director, I mean, you're in a tough spot. I see that, and what I think we probably need to learn from this or take away or further study is that, maybe our JPA isn't properly structured, with regard to these, more, fundamental capital purchases, right? We're also, it's not, I don't fully understand it. It's on my homework list. I want to understand how this, JPA mechanism of funding really works, but it sounds like it's a fixed number that you're handed that you have to manage to, and that's been an operational number. In the meantime, the risk exposure in general to hazards has been going up and up, right? So we need to, I think, as a body, really think through, are we adequately funded, right? I mean, we've got some good data points even in the presentations tonight that maybe we're not. So that's one thing. Given the exposures, given this is an emergency services department, I just don't think I could ever be in a world to support going to zero reserve or authorizing going to zero reserve. I just don't think that's prudent. And I don't fully understand what it would look like to reach out to the cities time of crisis of emergency and get that funding in a period of time that would be effective. So I will be hard pressed to support that. What it also occurs to me is maybe we're a little bit backwards, because I understand what you're basically trying to do is you're getting an operational budget, but you're trying to eke out a big capital purchase here. And that's just not ever gonna, frankly work in my view, because that's not how it's actually done. So it strikes me, if we know this is 2 million, 2.2 million, and we know an upfront payment saves us money, that's great. Let's make that pitch. Let's go seek the special assessment out to the cities now on that pitch, because that's how you buy capital equipment, right? As a known package that is being funded in a fixed way. Because the other problem with making this down payment, it sounds like we don't even know if we can afford the cost at delivery. So, just strikes me, this whole thing's a little bit flipped. And I think we ought to probably, and I'm open to learning more, I'm open to the finance committee, but feels to me like we should package this and seek the special assessment up front instead of exposing all our reserves and kind of just trying to eke out something that, maybe frankly, as currently structured, we can't afford.
And again, like I have said, the reserves that we talked about here, trust or whatever, reserves, we all talk about that language. It is not for any city or town to use at their need or disposal. It is not to make sure DEM doesn't shut down. That's not what it's for. So in the city, yes, we have a percentage that we maintain for various reasons, as we all do, or most of us do. And so this is kind of different from that, but John, is correct in the sense it's going to be paid for in this room, one way or the other. And I think what the director and the staff may have been saying is, how do we ease the pain the best with not having to go back, which is why like 300,000 was used from reserves to help lower the cost of the community. Now, maybe that's like, well, don't do that anymore. Just put it all toward that, but maybe that's to come up with options. We talked about it. I know staff either has us on video or has taken notes. So let's do the work. Let's do the homework. Let's bring back some stuff. It's important that we all feel comfortable, right? And that we can speak to our councils and our communities. So I think we have a clear path of what we need to do. And I think there's direction that's been given, so we are not going to take action on this. And any legal thing I need to do we need a motion to continue?
Public comment, Chair?
Let me.
Yeah, sure.
Let me, council.
No, I think just a motion to withdraw the item since there was a vote pending on it, so.
That's the action.
Mr. Chair, I do have a suggestion for the finance committee. I know we're talking about, trying to get the money out of our cities, but perhaps we could get an interest-free loan from some of these large corporations that use these services, or maybe we can even get a donation from them. I mean, I think that's good PR. We're only looking at how much money did one of these vehicles cost? This is a little over $1 million. Right?
2.2.
2.2, right? That's chump change for a lot of these corporations. So seriously, I think we should be looking. Into
I think
that.
anything to look into to save our communities is good.
Absolutely.
Tim.
Two questions if I may through the chair. The first, on Cliff's point, Chris Wayne's point is, you know, we should try to see if there's any financing structure we could have where we have tons of biotech here in our county. And maybe it's, you know, an assessment of having them contribute some amount every year. I know we don't like to use the word tax, but some sort of an assessment, just like, you know, when I have an operations building, I have to pay to have burglar alarm. So, you know, my company pays $1,000 a year for that. I just wonder if, based on some of the size of some of these biotechs, if we couldn't say, look, you know, Genentech, you gotta cough up $10,000 a year. This is to contribute to the response. So I don't know if we've modeled any of that, but I think that's something that we should definitely be investigating. And then the other question, which was more of an operational one, is will the county be the ones moving out on the RFP, or will the San Mateo Consolidated Fire have to do that? Or is it gonna be something we do in tandem?
So I appreciate all of your comments and I am grateful for them. Thank you so much. I love the interest. In terms of the RFP, it will go through us. And we will work with Chief Thorne and all the chiefs on what the next generation of vehicle looks like and what the needs are.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? And John, they have this thing like this.
Sorry, Chair.
No.
It's not like we're moving to a vote or something.
No, we just got the second one. And I know the one gentleman, and he had not raised his hand. So, okay, so are we all good? So as with legal counsel, it is to go ahead and have a motion and a second to withdraw this.
Yes.
From a vote.
Yes.
So move.
Second.
Oh, God, we got to roll call, please.
Atherton.
Yes.
Brisbane.
Yes.
Colma.
Yes.
Daly City. East Palo Alto.
Oh, she left the room.
Okay, got it. Foster City.
Yes.
Half Bay.
Yes.
Hillsborough.
Yes.
Millbright.
Right.
Yes.
Pacifica.
Yes.
Portola
That
Valley.
doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Redwood City.
Yes.
San Bruno.
Yes.
San Carlos. Yes. San Mateo.
Yes.
South San Francisco.
Yes.
And County Woodside, Beloved, and County San Mateo as well.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I appreciate all the comments. We have work to do. Let's move to item 10. Oh, we were just talking about this. Authorization to.
Wait, I think you already.
This is for the RFP.
That's what legal counsel told me.
Okay,
got it. No problem. Authorization to hazmat vehicle initiative procurement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Do we have any public comment? None, okay. Was there anything here? That was too quick. Roll call, please.
Yes. Brisbane.
Yes.
Colma.
Yes.
Daly City. East Palo Alto.
Yes.
Foster City.
Yeah.
Half Bay.
Yes.
Hillsborough.
Yes.
Millbright.
Yes.
Pacifica.
Yes.
Portola Valley.
Yes.
Redwood City.
Yes.
San Bruno.
Yes.
San Carlos. Yes. San Mateo.
Yes.
South San Francisco. Yes. That's it.
Thank you. Let's move on to item 11, report outs related to emergency services council, folks that are in this room. I just want to welcome San Bruno's new fire chief, Mike Hu. Congratulations. I suggested it would be nice if he stopped by, and now you've made it one of the longest meetings. No, but with that, with everybody, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here. Please be safe, drive and get home. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't see it.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you all. I know it's been a long night. I want to put out there that this is the first time I had the opportunity to visit Daly City's RTIC, Real Time Information Center. And when I walked in, the chief had asked me, Glenn, when's the last time you've been here? I said, maybe about 7 years ago. And he had this look, and I said, if everything is good, you know, I don't get in anybody's way. But what I wanted to make mention, I know San Mateo, I visited their program during one of the council of cities. And the RTIC uses drones. And to my knowledge, we have 7 of them. And Daly City is about 7 by 7 square miles. And we're due to get 5 more. But with all the technology out there, I was amazed to see that we have integration. We have cameras on top of various poles in Daly City. We also have police officer body cams. We also have ALPR readers. And also the patrol cars. And what is good about it, it all integrates together. So basically, if you have an officer on the field, you can look at his or her body cam and see what they're seeing. The cameras and the drones can go out, and we work, or most of our calls come from the city and county of San Francisco. And I think San Mateo should consider something like this. I mean, San Mateo County, that this can really become a force multiplier. To my knowledge, a few cities have come by and they says, how about if we buy the drones and you fly them? So I would like to invite anyone who's interested in coming up to and see our RTIC. Please contact the chief of police of Daly City and we will make that happen. And we can all learn from each other because San Mateo, we all collaborate together. So I just wanted to put that out.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
thank you, Glenn. And again, I do admire and respect everybody who steps up because obviously you do it out of the devotion, dedication, and love for your community. And again, we're fortunate we all sit in this room in the county and that as we know, when times are called, we do rally, we do get it done and we are successful and we do succeed. And with that, my friends, enjoy tomorrow, the weekend, meeting adjourned.